When you think of dinosaurs, your mind probably jumps to the big open plains of North America, right? Or maybe the deserts of Mongolia. But what about Italy? Yeah, for decades, the very idea of Italian dinosaurs was pretty much laughed off as impossible. But it turns out there was a lost world hiding right under everyone's feet all along. Seriously, just picture for a second a place you connect with Roman ruins, the Renaissance, amazing food, but imagine it as a prehistoric landscape, just teeming with giant reptiles. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but this is the real story we're diving into today. So here's the key thing you gotta understand. The scientific consensus was rock solid. During the Cretaceous period, Italy wasn't land. It was supposedly at the bottom of a deep sea, the ancient Tethys Ocean. So finding land-dwelling dinosaurs there, it should have been completely impossible. But then a discovery, inspired by Hollywood of all things, changed absolutely everything. And that leads us right into our first big story. And honestly, it feels like it was ripped straight from a movie script, which, as you're about to see, is, well, it's pretty fitting. This all kicks off not in some fancy lab, but in a shoemaker's house. This story is just wild. Okay, so in 1980, this amateur fossil hunter, Giovanni Tedesco, finds this cool-looking rock and just takes it home. For 13 years, can you believe it? 13 years. It's just a decoration in his house. Then, 1993 rolls around, he goes to see Jurassic Park, comes home, looks at his little lizard fossil again, and suddenly a light bulb just goes off. He calls up some paleontologists, and boom. Just like that, the entire history of paleontology in Italy gets a complete rewrite. So, let me introduce you to Ciro. The official name is Scipionyxus samnitucus. This little guy was a tiny carnivorous theropod, only about 20 centimeters long. But more importantly, it was the very first dinosaur skeleton ever found in Italy. And let me tell you, it was not just any old pile of bones. The reason Ciro became this global sensation is all down to how incredibly well preserved it was. I mean, we are talking about fossilized muscle fibers, its liver, even its entire intestine. This is the stuff, the soft tissues, that almost never, ever survives fossilization. It gave scientists this completely unprecedented peek inside a dinosaur's body. Ciro's discovery was like the first crack in a dam. As soon as paleontologists realized what they should be looking for and where, the evidence just started flooding in. It turned out that dinosaurs hadn't just, passed through Italy. They had walked all over it. This quote just says it all. It perfectly captures how unbelievably unexpected these finds were. An enthusiast finds 1,500 footprints, and his brain doesn't go to dinosaurs, it goes to World War II grenades. That just shows you the kind of mental shift that had to happen. People were literally looking at dinosaur tracks and just could not believe their own eyes. Just let that number sink in for a second. 30,000 footprints. And that was at just one site, found in 1999. This wasn't some lonely dinosaur wandering through. No, this was proof of massive herds, a thriving, bustling ecosystem on land that everyone thought was at the bottom of the ocean. Okay, so if Ciro was this tiny, perfectly preserved jewel, the next big discovery was its total opposite. We're talking about a true giant, locked away in solid stone that was going to take an absolutely monumental effort to set free. I mean, talk about being in the right place at the right time. It's 1994, the same year Ciro's discovery was made official, and a geology student, Tiziana Brazzati, is out doing fieldwork, and she just sees it, a dinosaur leg bone sticking right out of the rock face. She gave the fossil the nickname Antonio. Finding Antonio was the easy part. Actually getting it out of the ground took years of grueling work. The team had to move hundreds of cubic meters of rock, carefully slicing out these enormous blocks with diamond-tipped wires, and then they had to painstakingly clean every single bone with acid. This wasn't just digging. This was a massive feat of paleontological engineering. And here is the payoff for all that hard work. Antonio was a hadrosaur, one of those famous duck-billed dinosaurs. This 4-meter-long fossil wasn't just stunningly complete. It also turned out to be the oldest of its kind ever found in Europe. And here's a fun little twist. Despite the name, later analysis showed Antonio was actually a she. So you've got these two amazing bookends, right? On one side, there's Ciro, a tiny little carnivore found by a hobbyist, famous for its perfectly preserved guts. On the other side, Antonio, a giant plant eater found by a geologist, the oldest of its kind in Europe. Together, they start to paint this incredible, diverse picture of life in ancient Italy. So now we have two pretty complete skeletons and literally tens of thousands of footprints. The puzzle of prehistoric Italy is really starting to take shape. But as any scientist will tell you, the more answers you find, the more new and usually more complicated questions pop up. And the discoveries just kept on coming. You have Sultriosauro, a big carnivore up in the north. There's dinosaur, identified from just a single bone in Sicily, which proved dinosaurs made it all the way to the island. And my personal favorite story has to be Tito, a 6-meter-long titanosaur whose bones were found literally embedded in the wall of a house near Rome. So what does this all add up to? Well, it means we can basically throw out that old map. The new picture of Italy during the Cretaceous isn't a deep, empty ocean. It's a dynamic archipelago, a whole network of islands and shallow seas, with land bridges that were big enough for these incredible animals to walk across and thrive. There's a quote from the writer Aaron Calagrossi that just nails it. He says, "As always happens in these cases, a new discovery raises new, even more complex questions." And that's really what science is all about, right? It's not about finding one final answer. It's a journey. Every fossil adds a piece to the puzzle, but it also makes the whole picture bigger and more interesting. And really, that's the perfect place to leave it. One of the most important fossils in the world was hidden in a shoemaker's house for over a decade. Another was literally part of a garden wall. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, what other secrets from this lost Italian world are still out there just hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to look a little bit closer.